Transition, the process of change from one condition to another.
We are now at a new crossroad where change is evident once again.
What does not serve us must transform us anew.
Returning to our original state of oneness and true nature of that which created who we truly are.
Confusion was the way of the past. Enlightenment is the way of the now and future. Shedding away the layers of deceit.
We now bring you the transformation of the two who started as one. Our fearless planet never stands still.
Earth has been in a process of transition, and we are not exempt from this remarkable, ongoing reality. Well, hello, and good evening. Welcome to Real Talks with the Cummings, the Transition Radio Show. I used to say Transition Radio Show with Real Talk with the Cummings, but I got tongue-tied.
That's all right.
Yeah, it's been a long day.
I mean, you've been on since what, 2012?
2012, yeah. 2012 has been a long time.
Wow.
But I'm getting old and my back is hurting. I tell you, man. It's like, don't get old. It doesn't help anyone. But anyway, thank you for being here. And today we got a treat for you. I mean, you know, we love when we have guests on the show. And
it's nice to be able to get another guest.
Yeah. And un compadre, you know, another FTM like me, which is also an amazing thing. His name is Vittorio Wyatt Gray. And let me go ahead and actually do this. Boom. There he is. Vittorio, he's an actor. He's a voiceover artist, a producer. His work ranges from feature films and commercials to voicing animated characters and narrating audiobooks.
He's appeared on the Ellen DeGeneres digital network, through the Wormhole with Morgan Freeman and BuzzFeed Video, and has performed for www.broadwayworld.com, as well as on stage at the Celebration Theater.
His public advocacy journey began when he documented his transition on YouTube as BoiWyatt, from the beginning of medically transitioning with testosterone in early 2010 to completing his physical transition 2 years later, though he began his acting journey in Hollywood much earlier.
He was one of the first to receive the type of surgery that saved his life and made him whole. He survived 3 heart attacks, a violent hate crime, homelessness, and intolerance. A firm believer, he believes miracles can happen for anyone and enjoys incorporating diversity into his work.
And now, without further ado, welcome to the show, Vittorio. Here we go. Yay. Let me unmute you, because if I don't do that, then you will not. There you go.
Okay, you're on.
How's it going?
Hi, it's nice to be here with you. Thank you for having me. It's pretty good.
It's nice to have you.
You know, this lupus is kind of kicking my butt, but it's still a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, with me, it's age and whatever else, you know, it's like everything starts to hurt at a certain point. And life gets hard. You know, life definitely gets hard that way. But what do? You know, you got to go on. You got to get up every morning, you know, drink that cup of coffee, go outside, get some of that beautiful sun, breathe the air.
Well, it's kind of hard to breathe air right now.
Oh, I know.
Where you're at.
Never mind. No breathing air. Because
especially in Los Angeles. I think we have a little bit of a delay, but in LA, you know, thank God I'm about 40 miles south of there, but you know, LA is where I work. That's, you know, Hollywood, and most of my friends are up there, and it's just been terrifying. You know, asbestos is in the ashes, they're saying now. So I'm just still praying for everyone who's affected by the wildfires. That is why we set up character VOs for crisis. It's my new campaign that I'm doing, where we're having, it actually just turned into an inbound call line, but we are available to do fun voices for people that are affected by the wildfires. And just as a voice actor, that's my way of like giving back. Yeah, so that's what we have going on now. But yeah, it's major. It's major. But I wanted to definitely acknowledge that before like diving deep into all the stuff that I know we're going to get into tonight for sure.
So you say you're 40 miles south. I'm originally from Santa Ana, so yeah, not too far.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm in the OC. I was born in Newport Beach, and I mean that's really like part of what I'm on here to talk about. I kind of want to go back to the beginning and really like let people kind of get to know the real me, if that's okay.
Of course.
Yeah, because I feel like sometimes there's this perception of me that I'm this like privileged Orange County kid and everything just came to me so easily and all that. And if that's what you think of me, then I made this thing look real cool and easy, because life has been rough. Life's been rough since like as far back as I can remember. 2 years old, my parents already had me in beauty pageants. Like I get it, you got a cute kid, but I mean, we're talking about like makeup that you'd see on, I'm sorry, but like a hooker on like a kid. And that led to me doing a lot of modeling and just a lot of stuff that made me, I had fun in front of the camera and stuff, but I had to be dressed just so and everything. And it's sad, but by the time I was 3 years old, I had already been sexually assaulted, which is just like, yeah. And it was awful. I was actually like left in a very unsafe situation with an unvetted babysitter for 6 weeks, just freak awful situation. But yeah, it was 6 weeks of hell in some very formative years for me. Yeah. So but to be very clear, from my very first sense of me being me, myself, my just sense of who I am in this world, I've always known myself not to be a girl. I might not have had the language to know that I was a trans guy or that I'm going to grow up and be a man or something like that, but I certainly knew I wasn't a girl. And unfortunately, my parents are a little older. They're a little older than you guys, and like they just didn't get me. So they came from a generation where spare the rod, spoil the child kind of thing, and had some wrong conceptions about control, manipulation, and how ineffective that can be in converting your child to be whatever you want them to be. You cannot change someone's innate sense of self. And unfortunately, I find that I'm still fighting that battle. I'm 36 now, so decades later, with some of the same people. And it's gotten to the point where I need to speak for myself. So
and it's getting worse now. It's getting worse, and it's going to get worse for us all. But please continue.
Yeah. No, I mean, I try to be apolitical. I am an independent. However, I mean, damn, this is like, I feel like I've been doing this advocacy for about 20 years, if you count some of my lesbian stuff in Hollywood, and I feel like so much of my life's work is being undone. But I am reminded by the youth that are coming up that that we have been doing something. They have access to medical care that was so hard for me to get to, and I know it had to have been so much harder for you, because I've been looking up to you for years before I ever was on the trans scene. You know what I mean?
It was very difficult. Back in 2003, it was just like there may be one doctor, that actually in California, Dr. Byer,
Dr. Biber,
Biber, or
Stanley Biber in
something like
Colorado.
that. No,
Okay.
that was no.
Oh.
Something with a B, but he was in California. So I got
Doctor,
lucky.
was it Dr. Brownstein? Was it?
Yeah, Brownstein.
Or-
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I went to somebody who never did an FTM before, who's just a cosmetic surgeon, and I told him what to do at the Cleveland Clinic, and I lucked out that way because I couldn't leave to go anywhere. I had my own business in Florida, so I got lucky, and I just had a hysterectomy and top surgery at the same time, 7 hours. It was like do or die, But yeah,
man, yeah,
crazy stuff.
Yeah. You said that's crazy. Like you said, do or die. Like that's what I feel like I want to like express is like, even at the time when I was transitioning, I came on YouTube as BoiWyatt, and people were really surprised, I think, because I was always like, I had been a lesbian. I had been out as a lesbian. I was outed at 10, but I officially came out at 12. That created more problems at home because it was just something that just wasn't understood. It wasn't acceptable. My father was an international corporate lawyer and an executive at a very well-known company, vice president and general counsel at a very well-known company, I should say. And, mom was a tech person and a tech exec back in the 80s, launching satellites and stuff. They had some really big egos. Mom's still living, but dad, they had some really big egos, and we were essentially just like prop children. So because of some dysfunction and basically not being believed because I was still being perceived as like the girl and maleness was more valued in my family, I was in a living situation that got destroyed, intentionally sabotaged, to result in my homelessness, to show me that my decision to be LGBT was wrong. That is my perception of the situation. And I will not speak for other people, but that is how I experienced the situation. And that's what I believe in my heart. It resulted in me being homeless at 20 years old, 19, 20 years old, living in a parking garage in my car with my small dog and partner at the time, and ultimately being kidnapped and raped for 5 hours after leaving the Circus Disco Arena nightclub in Los Angeles on Santa Monica Boulevard in West Hollywood. If you're from out here, if you've ever been out here, it's a well-known gay club that a lot of us gay grew up in, we moved to LA to get away from our dysfunctional families. So, it was just a place that you could go. And I think it was 18 plus, but this already like convicted sexually violent person, I think it was a 2-strike felon, saw me in some of my really early work, got obsessed evidently, and stalked me, and had found my phone number, called me. And then so my friend that was at the club with me, I was drunk. That was my fault. I got drunk. I feel like someone slipped me something, but I was not in my right mind. And my friend, thinking she was doing a good thing, called the last number that was in my phone, which was this guy. And she put me in the tow truck with him, and he drove me off. And he later told the police, I didn't know what I was going to do. I was just going to drive them to the desert and get rid of them out there. So I was saved because an officer interrupted the scene. Literally, like just an angel. He was just doing his job. So I respect law enforcement. You guys got to be fair out there, treat people equally. But I respect law enforcement because that guy saved my life. And but then I was teased about that, and I was told he killed my daughter and all this stuff all through my transition. So I was like, I had this bravado, like I was like BoiWyatt, and I was doing this and that, and I was doing some cool stuff in Hollywood. But at home, I had no support, and I had no family. I had no love except for my neighbors in my little desert town. I bought a $30,000 house to just disappear, to have somewhere to just go. And I had no love until I met my neighbors out there. It's a really fucked up tweaker town. It's very dangerous, but my next door neighbors and the ones behind me became my family. And then at 33, I met my wife and moved on. And then I was struck with lupus, and got paralyzed, and that's where we are today. That's me in a nutshell. That's what I wanted to clear up.
Goodness gracious. I mean, I'm so sorry for all the things that you had to go through. It's a hard enough life without the events that you mentioned. I mean, the lack of love from family. I think many of us in the trans community share that. Those that are lucky enough to have the support of their family are very lucky and very blessed. The majority of us don't, or there's this lack of connection. There's like, they see you, but they don't see you, that kind of thing.
And it's all the worse when you come from a religious background. They'll throw that in your face. It's like, you're an abomination, or you're living in sin, or all these different, rhetorical things that they would use. And it's sad.
Yeah. And they still use that now, and even more so. I mean, this coming administration, and I'm sure that many of us in the trans community and in the LGBT community and QRS, are scared, because we don't know what the future holds. We don't know. I mean, we could only imagine if history repeats itself. And I grew up in a time, when I was a lesbian from the time of 13, where it was not okay to be a lesbian. It was like, actually, when I was in the Army and I almost got caught.
That was before Donut Hotel.
Yeah, it was before Donut Hotel. The sergeant said, if I catch you near a woman again, you're going to go to the stockade for the rest of your life. And I was like, girls, don't even look at me. I was like, leave me alone. So yeah, it was rough before, and we've made such progress, but I don't know. I don't know if we're going to go back in time, and we need allies. Like, definitely we need more allies now than ever, but let's get into some nuts and bolts here. What drives you, and where do you get your inspiration to create?
Oh, that's a really good question. What drives me? Well, I was homesick a lot as a kid, because lupus takes on average between 9 to 15 years to diagnose. Mine unfortunately took about 30. So I stayed homesick a lot. That's where I watched a lot of daytime talk shows like yours, where I saw you. I also watched a lot of cartoons, though. I am on the spectrum, and my first words were not words, but I was like kind of humming along to the Sesame Street theme song. So I had delayed speech and stuff like that. But I think that I genuinely have been fascinated with television, like specifically television, film, all of that. Like, I wish I could say it's like this deep desire to like put information out there and do that. That's what I feel like I do when I get to sit down and have an interview like this, or kind of what I was doing on my YouTube channel, or now what I'm doing over on my Blue Sky, transsexual man on there with 1S, guys. But I think that it's just been a desire to find ways to like make art in this medium that I love so much. Like, I'm a TV junkie. I will binge watch just about anything, as long as it's not too violent. I'm just not into that. Like, when you've lived real life stuff, it's kind of like not so interesting to watch like rape culture and stuff on TV and movies. But yeah, I mean, I definitely, I feel like ultimately I just wanted to do cool stuff in Hollywood. Initially, I wanted to do something cool in Hollywood that I could like, take a picture of or show a DVD of and bring it back home, so that maybe I would have done something impressive enough that these people would love me, or that people would get me, or that it would all be worth it. And then I realized that's fucked up. You should never get into acting, just so you know. And anyone who's taking my class, you should never get into acting. I think Jeffrey Tambor told me this. If you're getting into it to be famous. So now I do it to bring joy. I made my feature film Miracle, the Milagro and Taftacopa, because nobody was making content with like almost entirely the whole cast being transgender. The film quality was shitty. So I would love to have some work and some help, collaboration next time on the next thing I do. But but I did have a lot of friends that jumped in and volunteered their time. So really, it's the representation at this point. I've been in Hollywood long enough that now I'm in like SAG committees and stuff, and people are, you know, letting me sit at the table, which is great. And now that I'm in there, I get to do some of the advocacy. You know, sometimes I am that trans guy representation in the room. And because of these years in Hollywood, people are listening. And there's a lot of kids that, you know, I guess they're not kids now, but when I was doing the BuzzFeed stuff, I had people stop me in the gay pride parades and be like, hey, my boyfriend is transitioning and he was having a really hard day, but he saw your BuzzFeed video and saw someone like him and it really cheered him up. Can I take a picture with you for him? You know, that kind of stuff. So that's kind of what motivates me now.
Yeah, and just lack of representation. Although we're seeing a little bit more, there's several guys that are out there. I forgot his name. Really tall, good-looking model type guy. He's done stuff with.
He did stuff with
Taylor Swift.
So
there's Laith Ashley. There's
Laith.
I think that's Laith. Yeah, there's Laith. There's Scott Turner Schofield. There's me, Vittorio Wyatt Gray. I've been in the game for a very long time. There's Brian Michael Smith, I think is his last name. Fabulous actor. FYI, we've gone out for every role, but he's got this really cool kind of like mature swag about him. So definitely he's someone to keep an eye on as well. And then there's all the trans women. I mean, I got to be part of that Transparent back in the day, and it was really cool. The co-producers Zachary Drucker and Reese Ernst brought me in. I mean, my agent submitted me, but I kind of went in. It was almost like a cattle call, and I was like, I don't know. I was almost like I had already had my phalloplasty, and I was like, do I want to do this trans thing? Being a lesbian didn't benefit me very much, I thought. I could just finish my transition, change my name, and just come out as a different actor in Hollywood. No one would be any wiser. But it felt important to me to be authentic. And it actually was the first place that I met like real trans people in person. And a lot of those people are my friends to this day. You know, almost everyone that I met, it was like this cool collaborative group. I think Rain Valdez was part of that. She now has Act Now, which is this big LA LGBT, the first like acting class and community specifically for queer people like us. So there's a lot of people doing really good work out there. Yeah.
I mean, we saw just recently we started watching Mayfair Witches, and we see Jen Richards in a pretty major role.
Yeah.
That she's actually
Jen Richards.
Yeah.
She's in that show. Yeah.
It's like
she's
so much more
opportunities.
Yeah. There's so much more opportunities now. Like back in the day, I was in a short film. I got Bella Amato or something like that, where there was like the whole cast was trans, but it was a very short film, and it didn't really. You had Jazz Jennings, you had Joe Stevens, you had myself. I played the cop, Marco the cop, because I was also into acting. I took acting in high school, but I never fully pursued it. I was more into my music, writing songs and stuff like that. But you know, it's a hard business to get into. You know?
Yeah, and prior to transitioning, I was a camera operator, so I worked in lots of television shows. I lived in Nashville and did a lot of stuff, and I knew a lot of people in Hollywood that were A-list camera operators and stuff, and they're still, every now and then I see their names in the credits and stuff, and it's, you know, because that was, I don't know, I guess that was a trajectory as being from Orange County to get out there to LA and to make it big in Hollywood and to, you know, have a nice career with benefits and all that. So
I mean, if you qualify for benefits, I don't remember what the threshold is, but I haven't qualified for benefits in a long time in Hollywood, and that's true for a lot of trans actors in Hollywood. You know, a lot of us have been on public assistance throughout our careers. I, for one, when I was living out in I don't know if I've named the town yet, but it was Maricopa, California. It's now people are finally getting hip to it. It's getting known, but I was out there, and it's population 1,000 on the outskirts of Bakersfield in the middle of the desert.
Okay, I was going to ask you Bakersfield, and yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, I moved to Bakersfield because okay, so no, we have to go back. So back in the day when I got my phalloplasty and my top surgery, I did them both in the same year. It was 2 years after I started my transition. And the way that I paid for them, because even though I had PPO good insurance at the time, they wouldn't cover the trans stuff. I had to pay cash, and I didn't have any cash. And my family certainly wasn't going to fork over any money to turn me into any more of a man than I already was. And so actually we got justice from the pervert that assaulted me. It was his third strike. I believe that he targeted me because I played a lot of 18 to play younger stuff. I'm not an incredibly tall guy. And I feel like he thought that I looked young. He liked me from some of my 18 to play younger stuff. And I feel like he targeted me. So actually by me standing up, it took 3 years of literally while I was transitioning. So from 2009 to 2012, mind you, BoiWyatt started in 2010. I had to publicly stand in front of people that were just fighting traffic tickets or miscellaneous stuff, and over and over and over again, as a trans man, describe violently being assaulted for 5 hours in detail with people laughing and, chewing gum. It was just humiliating. So, but it was worth it because that asshole's off the streets, I believe. Hope the system works. It's a flawed one. But that being said, I used most of the money to do my top surgery. I also had just gynecomastia surgery done by a Newport Beach boob job doctor. And then the rest of the money I had left, I had like, I don't know, $35,000-$40,000. There were 2 houses in California I could afford, and I wanted to get as far away from my past as possible. So I bought the one that was standing for $30,000. And I would always come down. I mean, Orange County has been my permanent address since I was born, and as well as like, I always frequent LA. My family has a house up there. When I have access to it, I am able to use it. But yeah, I would stay up there for most of the year and come down and check on my mother and things because she was alone down here. I would check on her. But then have that retreat and then, to kind of reset and know who I am and kind of like purge all that. You killed my daughter, you're a tranny, this and that. Like, I mean, it was a broken record, a nightly broken record for until I got married.
I can understand that, because my mom still does not call me by my male name. She still refers to me as the name she named me. And, it's, I could understand, because it's like they do feel like you killed their daughter. But, it gets to a point where like, you got to move on. You got to grow up. You got to accept the situation and just, understand that it's not going to happen because it harms you. Because of that haunting and religiosity, I ended up detransitioning like 4 times till finally I made peace and had to divorce myself from my mother and had to divorce myself from the whole religiosity, to the point now that I can't believe that there's a God that would judge us and want to see us hurting because of who we truly are. And the people that believe that, are just as bad as that belief system, in my opinion, in my humble opinion. But, it's, yeah.
I don't want to change. I don't want to, I don't ever want to force my thoughts on anyone else. I would just offer a slightly different perspective because I know where you're coming from. A lot of times as trans people, we are told we do not belong. God hates you. You are an abomination. I've been called abomination so many times. God doesn't make mistakes. All that shit. Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve, all this stuff. The Bible also says if your right hand causes you to sin, then cut it off and cast it into the lake of fire, because it would be better for you to, enter the kingdom of heaven maimed than for you to, enter into hell with your whole body, basically. Like, I interpret certain scriptures in the Bible to include trans people. Anywhere that they mention eunuchs, I see myself in that. And the first Ethiopian convert to Christianity was actually a eunuch, which is, I guess they would call it like castrati, or like a castrated male. That was the most typical definition of that back in the day. But I think it could really include anyone that is part of like this expansive gender spectrum that science now says exists. I personally believe that the only reason I was able to transition is because I prayed to God, and he had mercy on me. I was such a broken person. I had no, I was fed and things, but I was not loved. I was not understood. I had no support in my family. And because my family had such influence, people didn't think that I would need support because they thought I was taken care of. But behind closed doors, it simply was not true. But God, for me, has been a friend. And like, I've been saved. I've had 3 heart attacks and made it every time. My wife was bitten by a brown recluse spider, and her hemoglobin got down to 2.1. I'm just a CNA, but if you know anything about medical stuff, hemoglobin 2.1, you're pretty much dead. She came back like that. We prayed. I just want to sometimes show that, like, because I had my questions about God, because my parents told me that God said this and God said that, and God told me to tell you this and all this crap. And it wasn't until I sat out in the desert for 12 years and got real with myself that, I studied all the other religions, and I was like, you know what, Christianity, it really does resound with me. So there are some trans Christians out there, for all the right wing people or middle America people. Like, some of us do love Jesus, and you can't really treat us as a monolith and say all trans people are they got this agenda and they're trying to make our kids trans and all this shit and they don't love God. I just simply disagree. I don't give a fuck what people's kids do. I just know if I was a kid and I saw someone like me, like when I saw someone like you, Mark, and also your lovely wife that I've seen, throughout the years on YouTube, it did make a world of a difference to me. So that's why I want to put it out there. Yeah, you can still be Christian and be trans, but if it doesn't work for you, I mean, you got to find your own truth. That's for anything.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's truth is different. I mean, I believe in a higher self. I believe that the source of all is energy, and then we are energy ourselves, and we're living in a certain frequency, and there's lessons to be learned. And I mean, there's many different things. I'm not an atheist by all means, but I cannot, in my opinion and my belief system, I cannot condone a God in the Bible. We read the Bible from front to back, and after reading that Bible, we're like, did you?
Yeah, I mean, but I don't really want to take anything away from you and your experience, because I mean, it's very personal to you, and it means a lot to you, and we honor that, and we've taken a different path. I grew up in Christianity all my life, and I even worked in Christian ministries and Christian television, and what I've seen and the things that I've experienced in my own personal journey has caused me to step away from wanting to serve anything remotely relevant to the Christian God of the Bible. But I mean, everybody has their own path and journey, and I'm grateful for my journey. I'm grateful for your journey, and I'm grateful for your journey. And I think that it's important that we honor the life that anyone chooses to take, and I think that's the problem that right-wing fundamental, types are missing, is that they always want to legislate how everyone should live. I mean, you've got the now, president to be wanting to legislate morality in Hollywood now by having Sly and Mel and John Voight to, make sure that things are tidied up and running. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. It's crazy.
Yeah, no, there's definitely like a lot of corruption and everything. I think also, though, I do want to be very clear. Like, I'm a Bible believing, Jesus loving, Christian guy. I also, though, do leave space for, now what language were we using thousands of years ago. I'm super into history and anthropology, and it's kind of like, I feel like now what we were sometimes calling like this spiritual realm that didn't make a lot of sense back, in the day. Well, Einstein talks about spooky action at a distance, which we now call, quantum theory, quantum physics. Yeah. Yeah. And so like, the double slit experiment and all that, I'm super into that. Like, I totally believe in that. Like quantum entanglement. I do believe in like, that relates to like soulmates and everything. I think that I have my exact match. My wife, she's my biggest support, and I love her so much. And to me, it does kind of feel like we're living kind of quantum right now, just the way that things are connecting.
Yeah, things are getting rather Twilight Zone-ish, if you ask me. I mean, it's just, and I think it's all good because it's going to bring the humanity into another level. We're going to like ascend, and we're like, and Mother Earth is a live being. So there's frequencies, and that it's all changing, and we see it all around us. I mean, it's pretty deep. That's a show on its own. So I wanted to ask you, take us back to your first recollection of having gender dysphoria and knowing something was wrong, and what made you decide to transition?
Oof. Gender dysphoria. Well, I knew from my earliest memory that my older brother had something that I wanted that I didn't have. I was, young. The first time I knew that I was going to marry a woman, although I perceived myself not to be a girl way before this, to be clear. But I was coming from a soccer game, which I'm sure we lost because I hated it. I hated the running part, and I hated when they would kick me the ball. I hated being perceived, and I still do. But my father took me to go get ice cream at Thrifty's afterwards, with the little smiley face and the whole thing. But I remember there was this woman. She was this brunette woman. And she was gorgeous. I was like 4, literally. So maybe she was 20, but she was a grown woman to me at the time. And I was just like, she's am I frozen? Oh well. I said, oh, she's gorgeous. I know that one day I just gotta marry someone like beautiful like her, And so my first sense of gender dysphoria, though, I can tell you my first memory of someone else noticing my gender dysphoria. My parents were always entertaining. There's kind of like an open door policy, which has changed a lot around here, thank God. But they were always entertaining, and I kind of always felt like I don't know, like people were being like saying things about me that I didn't understand. Kind of speaking about me in grown ways. I wouldn't say behind my back because I could hear, but just as if I just didn't matter, and I was holding a garden hose. I was like, I don't know. I was a small kid, and I was holding a garden hose between my legs and watering the plants while the other kids were in the pool. But I was like using it like I was, going to the restroom, I guess. Not knowing that was such a bad thing, right? And I just remember my mom and the moms just sitting over there, and my mom was just like, oh, someone has penis envy and this and that. And so I was like, I felt bad, but I didn't fully understand it. But that word penis envy stuck with me, because I was a smart kid. So, I was like, penis envy. I could put the terms together, and I was like, I do have that. And maybe that explains this phantom penis that I feel that I've had my entire life that isn't there, so, which, by the way, I don't experience that anymore now that I've had my phalloplasty, and I haven't ever since. So for me, it was, people get their healing from different points. And I happen to be a transsexual man, which is, I guess, a word that is offensive to some people now, but I've earned it, and I am going to use it for myself. I know there's a whole spectrum, and everyone kind of finds, your transition is so personal. It's so personal. And I do think there are biological and genetic elements that contribute to how personal it is for each individual. But for me, I had to go for fallow to feel complete. And so all that phantom, all that longing and everything went away from me at that point. But I still felt misunderstood.
So
there really is nuance though with regards to transitioning, because I mean, it's like for some people it's just not financially feasible for them to be able to get, you know, further on in their transition that they would want to. And, you know, that is like, and then some people find it like that it's not as important for them to do so, you know, with regards, like, I know, like with you, you saw how someone had gone through a fellow
I had guys
revisions like 13 or 14 times. And he was like, he's like, I
can't
had the money.
Yeah, I had the money, but I couldn't take the time off all the time to do that. So I was like, I was happy with what hormones did for me, you know, my natural growth. And it never has been a problem. You know, I feel very complete, you know, and I don't feel any less of a man because I don't have that. I'm in the sauna with the guys. No one ever even I don't even pack. And no one even, because it's the essence. You walk in a room and, you know, I'm seen as a man's man. So I never felt like I didn't want to put myself through that. Being a medical profession, I'm an occupational therapist. And I know, because I researched it. I was like, I'm not putting myself through that, you know, but, you know, like you said, everyone it's personal, you know,
it's very nuanced and very personal.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
yeah, I think it is so personal. And I actually didn't want it. I actually, you know, I kind of used to be a shit talker, you know, at least to myself. I was a very cynical person because I think I had, you know, I had a lot of people bully me and, you know, be so mean sometimes. But I feel like constantly being told, like there was this moving, what'd you call it? Like a goalpost. I don't know how I would say it, but it was like, well, you can't be a man because I mean, I know you're on hormones and everything, but you still got titties. You'll never be a man, you know? Okay. I went out and chopped those off and then come home. Well, you chopped your titties off, but you're never going to make it all the way. Okay. Well, let me show you. So I feel like I would have gotten here eventually anyway. And I'm actually thankful for the bullying that forced me to do it sooner, because let me tell you, I was 23 at the time. If I was as old as I am now and had to face that brutal, scary, horrific situation, I just wouldn't have done it. I intentionally stayed ignorant. I didn't want to look at any of the pictures of, like, you know, you Google it and there's like all these like gruesome arm things. By the way, for anyone who's out there, those are fresh pictures. Your arm will heal. A lot of people are doing really well with that right now. Check out Emmett Preciado. He's looking wonderful. Yeah, Emmett is cool guy. I got to do a little music video with him one time. So it was a really nice guy. But yeah, I don't know. Things are just, yeah, he's a sweetheart. Actually, most of the trans actors in Hollywood, like, I mean, there's really, I would say, like 2 degrees of separation. We all know each other and it's gotten bigger. But when this thing started, I mean, there was me, there's Ian Harvey, there was D-Lo, the guys I mentioned earlier, you know, Scott was, I think, the first guy on a daytime talk show that was trans, and just a lot of people, but they're all actually sweethearts. They're all sweethearts. And I just hate what people say about our community. I mean, like I
interviewed Ian Harvey
cool.
back in the day. Yeah.
Was Scott Turner with you?
Yeah.
Probably, because I interview a whole bunch of people.
He was the blonde guy?
Yeah, a bunch of people from Hollywood.
He's blonde. He's blonde.
Yeah. You were on with him, I think.
Yeah, I did so many things
back in the day.
Back in the day when
Maury Povich or something.
Everything.
That was what I watched. I'd stay homesick and it was Maury Montel, Jenny Ricky. I would watch that shit all day. You know, he's got MS. But I just saw him recently on something, and actually I think he's doing well with it. Yeah, so that's hopeful. You know, it adds hope for me, because when I say I'm affected by this lupus, I have stage 5 out of 6 nephritis, which means I will probably need a kidney one day. So hopefully I don't know. Hopefully, as I put this out here now, maybe people will just kind of get to know me a little bit better. And if that time should come, hopefully, maybe someone will pay it forward and do something for me, because I'm trying to do this advocacy to make sure that, the trans youth, especially, make sure that they don't have to grow up with the same burdens that we did. You still have to go to school. You still have to have a job. You still have to emotionally mature, but you don't have to do it with someone telling you you're nothing every day, or you're never going to make it, or that no one loves you. Because if your folks don't love you, or your family doesn't love you, or your town doesn't get you, I promise you there is a community of LGBT people, not just trans people, but trans women, trans men, but also the gays, the lesbians, all of our queer community, our two-spirit, everyone, intersex, asexual, everyone. There's all these people that have been through what you've been through, and we're here. We're here, and now we're older. We're adults. I'm a trans elder. They say that because I made it past 25. I don't know what the statistic was when you were younger.
I feel like a great grandpa or something at 60. It's like, yeah, it's crazy stuff.
That's kind of the reason why we're not like bailing out on Facebook or Instagram or any of the major platforms, because we figure it just seems like if we leave, we just give more fuel to our enemy, the people that want to see us just disappear. Yeah. Because let's not cut any slack to what they want to do. I mean, this new U.S. House bill that passed recently with trans youth, I mean, it's like, it's one step in delegitimizing trans identity, and they're not going to be done until they get what they want. And Christian people that have those motivations, they felt that way about abortion, and they didn't think it was going to be possible to overturn Roe v. Wade. They didn't think it was going to be possible, but that's what happened. So we need to be proactive. We need to be out there. We can't be fearful. We can't hold back, because if we do, they're going to claim another victory.
Yeah, they're going to put us all back into the closet. And I came out of that closet years ago, first as a lesbian and then as a trans guy. And I'm not going back into the closet. As it was, that detransition stage was so harmful to my...
It was psychologically
harmful. And I probably harmed a lot of people. But I was very confused because of that religiosity. That's why now, I can't.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's personal.
It's personal, It's really
no,
personal.
No, yeah, I did actually. I wasn't necessarily like following at the time, but one of your videos came up, and it was during one of those periods. And I just remember the community kind of being really just not very nice towards you. And I remember feeling bad about that, because what a lot of people didn't realize is that for so many of us, like your advocacy and you living out loud and loving out loud, it's the reason why a lot of us have been able to get our surgeries or our hormones, or even just be able to have the confidence to walk around. I mean, we need to see more people like you. You're 60 years old. I mean, you look great, both of you. You look fantastic. But people, when the statistic was when I was coming up, at least that I was told, is it was like 1 in 4 trans people at the time successfully committed suicide. Like there was a successful rate. I don't quote me on that. I don't know, but any death because someone feels unwanted or unloved, or like no one's ever going to get them, is a preventable death. It is a fucked up death, and we have to stop that. And the only thing that has been working is to get out and do the advocacy. I'd love to be doing acting. Actually, honestly, I've lost a lot of weight. I lost my hairline because of the lupus. Well, that's coming back now after 2 rounds of chemo, and I lost a lot of weight. So I'd love to do some modeling. I would love to just do modeling, because people need to see us continue to grow and be successful and be married, and live our lives. People are watching.
I appreciate, you saying what you said, because it's been hard, seeing so much that I did for this community, and then everybody just threw me under the bus, and it hurt. it hurt. And I know that I did some things that hurt people, but I wasn't in my right state of mind. You know, it was a lot of the trauma. I too was sexually molested as a child from the age of 8 to 12, you know, and things that just came out all of a sudden, you know, because I was so worried about advocating. I didn't even have the time to take care of myself as I was transitioning. And it was like in a time when there was hardly nothing out there. I was it for a lot of, like, in the Spanish circuit, you know, I did a ton of documentaries. I was in all sorts of different panels and stuff, but I didn't take care of myself. So then it just kind of like hit me, you know, but.
And there wasn't any YouTube. There weren't any selfies, you know, pictures that people would take.
Yeah.
I mean, you didn't really have that kind of me culture that people have now with the social media platforms, you know, that gave rise to, this is my voice on TV. This is my,
I didn't get to do none of that.
I did that. I did all that. I did all that crap. I thought that I wanted to do that because I was having someone that was literally like negating my existence. Like, I'm a trans man. No, you're not. You're not even standing there type of like just delusion. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, okay. So I wanted to document it for myself, but also now looking back on it, well, I've been approached by a few people, you know, and I have all this footage of my transition. And it also was cool for me because I was able to, you know, I transitioned when you still had to be cleared of borderline, you know, personality disorders and all this stuff. You had to have the 2 letters from the doctors and all this stuff. So it was really good for me to see what my mental status was at the time, and to know that I absolutely wanted to do this thing, and everything that I said about my life, and for me that God said about my life, is true. And yeah, like, we just got to keep just moving forward. And I think being a community and supporting each other. Yeah. Like, you know, that's why I want it to be real. I need support right now. I need support. I need all the friends that I have. You know, I guess you can call me an internet troll that made it, you know, into the voiceover world. But, you know, that's my walker. That's not like my grandparents' walker or something. That's my upright walker. I am very, very disabled. And that weight loss is not, I mean, it's awesome, but it was not intentional, you know?
So take us deep into, how did it all start to happen? You said that you hadn't been diagnosed, and you were diagnosed at the age of 30. What were the symptoms and how did it all play out?
Yeah. So I was always a sick child, always had to stay home a lot. We would go skiing a lot, and I would get up there and they thought that I was just having like a temper tantrum or a behavior. But every time on the road trip up to Mammoth, you know, up to 395, we'd go up there often. I'd be fine. And then we'd get up there to ski and I would just be so sick. I'd have like the worst altitude sickness. They've come back and said that that was related to that. I still have the scars, and I had to cover these up in Hollywood, and people used to be so mad about it, but you get this butterfly rash. Well, I got that at like 14 years old. So by some people's calculations, I've been in a lupus flare for something like 21 years before they diagnosed. I'm 36 now, and they caught it last year or the year before. So I guess I would have been 35. Yeah, and so I worked as a CNA during the pandemic. I got my CNA. My background is in business and technology, and of course Hollywood and all that stuff and communications. But I went out and got my CNA because I saw an opportunity, and I was tired of sitting on that island of nothingness in Maricopa. And so I had to get off the island, and so I got my CNA, and I met my wife in class. She was a different kind of healthcare professional, but I met her in there, and it was love at first sight. And yeah, but she, you know, already having a healthcare background for 10 years, recognized that something was terribly wrong with me. If you even just like look at some of my movies, like throughout the years, you see me progressively just getting fatter and fatter and fatter, and my hairline goes from here to here to here, and it just got ridiculous. I was drawing it on in some movies, but it's back, y'all. It's back. But like even like was it Bob and Weave? I look horrible. So I had my first heart attack at 29. I had my second two the next year. and they just told me, oh, your body's going through some things. You have a heart condition. And then I started just fainting all the time, just passing out, very weak. So my wife was like, you got something wrong. We worked throughout the pandemic. Because people were so understaffed, so we did that. I didn't get to do the Army thing. I really wanted to, but at the time it was when I was in 8th grade, it was 2001. So it was September 11th and all of that. And it motivated me. And they were still under basically, well, I had actually gotten through MEPS. I had gone through MEPS. I had done the ASVAB, all that. I actually took the D-Lab and did really well on it, which means I have an aptitude to learn languages. But I wanted to do something that was in infantry, and it was the one thing that they wouldn't let me do. And I was like, well, fuck it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to serve a country that won't let me be all the way me. It was, I know a lot of people that did do that, and I thank them for their service. I come from a military family, but for me, I was like, I'm going to give up my life for a country that doesn't even want me to be myself in the military. And that was at the time. But I don't know that I regretted it, but I wanted to serve in a different way. And that's why I did CNA. So, yeah. And then I got sick on my shift. I couldn't open up a bag of potato chips. And then I progressively, I got paralyzed over about a 3-week period. And that lasted for months, from the summer of 2023 all the way until the autumn, where they finally caught it because my lungs were filling with fluid. I had the death rattle, and I was unable to move or perform any ADLs, like lifting my head off the pillow. My wife had to walk for me, change me, reposition me in bed, feed me. I total care patient. So after 20 days in the hospital, we got this world-class rheumatologist, love her, and they finally got it. And now I'm being treated, but the damage, compounded by years of abuse and neglect, and not being loved, have really taken its toll on my body.
I'm so sorry. I mean, it's devastating. It's devastating to realize that the lack of love, the lack of understanding, the lack of compassion from parents and those around us can literally destroy your body. We're like flowers that wilt if you don't give it water and let it sit in the sun, and people don't understand that.
Especially a parent's love, because a parent's love is something that can't be duplicated on this earth. It's like we're constantly searching for that validation, like I'm a good person, Mom. I'm a good person, Dad. How about now that I've succeeded in doing this, are you proud of me? Can I make you proud? And it's like we're still like little kids when it comes to that. That part of us is still a little 5-year-old that just wants to crawl up on their daddy's lap or on their mom's bosom and rest, and it's really sad when we can't, it's so critical for us as humans, we're no different than primates at that point.
Yeah, and as you see, there's a lot of trans individuals that do suffer from autoimmune disorders, all sorts of different ailments. There's so many that I see online, and you got to wonder: is it from all the neglect, all the abandonment issues, all the hateful rhetoric, and then maybe add hormones to the equation? It exacerbates things. Heart conditions and things like that. And like I said, I don't know if we said it earlier, doctors still haven't caught up on how to treat us. They really don't know. It's like, let's tweak the dose a little bit. How about, see, with me, I kind of always educating my doctor because I'm a medical professional as well. And I take time where I lower my dose and I've stopped doing just to let my body clean out, because that excess of stuff can actually hinder. So we need doctors that know how to really take care.
Yeah. And then I'm very unique myself. We are, I'm kind of anomalous even in the trans community. There's a lot of people that there's no set like order of surgeries you have to have done. So, not all of us have exactly what people think we have in our pants. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's so many conceptions, preconceived notions and assumptions. For a while it used to piss me off that to be a trans man, people assumed that I hadn't had phalloplasty. So I was kind of like, well, hey, I'm gonna rock out with my cock out. You know what I mean? I'm gonna get pants that don't fit me, that well. So, you're gonna acknowledge that I'm a man here. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna have to see the bulge, mom or whoever. And yeah, I feel like that's another reason why I was really excited when you asked me to come on your show. It's because like this healthcare stuff, it affects a lot of people. For me, my doctor was saying that there might be some way to describe being a trans man as my body processing hormones in a different way than the average AFAB person. So I know for me, I have a sensitivity to estrogen. If I have it, it makes my body very sick. And so what's really interesting is to know, like, was I always meant to be trans, or did I seek out a path to transition because somehow deep inside I knew that my body was dependent on testosterone to combat what this estrogen was doing. Now, you say that to someone like you were talking about, maybe a fundamentalist or someone on the right, and they wouldn't really know what to do with that, because then you're talking about some intersex stuff. I consider myself to have an intersex condition for that reason, and others, some physical anomalies, but like, people don't know how to deal with that. And so I feel like we need to keep putting stuff out there in people's faces. Like we exist. I have several intersex friends as well, and they exist. They're there, whether you want to write them away with the stroke of a pen or what. And I think also, yes, all that hatred and the microaggressions, they say African-American women are more likely to have heart conditions and all of these other issues because of the microaggressions they deal with on a daily basis. Imagine being a Black or brown trans woman and knowing that everyone hates you, everyone's out to get you, and that your life is literally not safe. And even, the authorities, now I do believe we have some very good law enforcement that is out there, and they care, and they've partnered with some community leaders, myself included, to make things better. But there are also a lot of people that treat us like crap. I've never been arrested, but I've been detained for being trans twice, and asked about very inappropriate things. Of course, released because I was doing nothing. I don't have a record or anything of anything. I was just literally being harassed. All that being said, it has been an interesting life. It really has. I mean, there's just so much. I could just go on and on with you, but
we come from a history of, like, I remember my friend in grade school, his parents didn't let him write with his left hand, which was natural, because they felt that was like demonic to write with your left hand. And they made him write with his right hand. And it's like, because they felt that spiritually it was going to be beneficial for him to not be, taken over by the devil or something. And it's like, that mentality is the same mentality that's in the Christian right-wing portion of Christianity, and how they just want to, like, demonize anything having to do with trans or intersex or any non-binary, anything, Baphomet, they'll use all these terminologies and words to describe us, And
they don't even understand us. They don't even know anything about us. It's
some
all
of them
rumors.
have never met any of us.
Yeah, it's rumors, lies, like the newest lies is your kid's going to come out with a sex change from school.
And that's what the president-elect was saying.
It's like, do you even realize what it takes to
you don't
do
just
that?
walk into the nurse's office and come out another gender. It's just like,
but it's all lies, and they love them, and people feed off of that, and that's just crazy. So explain to me that statement, you believe miracles can happen for anyone. What, how do you,
Yeah.
why do you feel that?
Well, I want to address what y'all just said. I feel like some people, in the same way that people use the Bible to justify colonization and slavery and all of this other stuff, or apartheid, or all this horrible stuff, I feel like it's being used in the same way against my community. And as someone who loves the Lord, as well as someone who loves my people, I just have to say, when Jesus came back, he didn't come back for the Pharisees and the Sadducees. He came back for the sinners. He came back for the sick people, the lepers. He came back and healed the blind, and taught he helped the man that was paralyzed walk. He said, get up, take your mat, and go. You know what I'm saying? So I hold on to those parts of the Bible versus the religion of Christianity, which has told me, I don't want you in my church. You cannot get married in my church. You should not exist. You are an abomination, and all this shit. If I let that kind of mentality actually seep in and run me away from something that has been beneficial to me, then then I'm letting the bullies win. And you know what? God also said, let God be right and every man be a liar. So God has put his stamp of approval on me. He told everyone that told me I would never be who I am. I would never get this far. I would never have love. I would never, like when I was younger, I was told, oh, your prospects are going to be really limited because you're choosing this lifestyle, being a lesbian or whatever. Well, no, I'm a DEI consultant in Hollywood. I've worked with some really, really cool people. My body is affected right now. But I'm getting through it. I've got a dream team of doctors that I could not have put together myself. I prayed for bottom surgery. I prayed for top surgery. I prayed for God to find a way for me to exist after being raped, teased about it, told that I'm nothing, after coming into this world, feeling like, okay, I've done something wrong, but I don't know why. I don't know why these people hate me. Like somehow through all that shit, I even had, a partner that tried to trap me with a different disease. That's for a different story. It didn't work, but it did lead me to do a lot of HIV and AIDS outreach and advocacy, which I still do to this day. So I guess it's just the specificity and the synchronicities that occur that helps me have faith. That kind of like maybe it's, I believed in, I have a childlike wonder in some ways that I keep. I think it helps me be a really good voiceover artist. Most of my stuff sounds like this. I do the little kid voices and stuff because of, the trans man voice range. I just feel like miracles can happen for anyone because they've happened for me. And I just want people to know that some of us out here still believe in miracles. And I believe that if you tap into that, now you can call it whatever, another person might call it something else, but there is something bigger out there that I feel is helping me. Yes.
I definitely believe that in manifestation, visualization, making things happen. I believe in my higher self. There's some me in other realms, and you connect with that, and you manifest, and you meditate, and you visualize. I believe that, like, whatever it is that you put your mind to, like in the movie The Secret, where you literally,
yes,
tap
I read
in
it. I read the
certain
book. Yeah.
things. Yeah. And so, some people call it God, other people would call it the universe, source of all. There's definitely something greater. And I believe that when you tap into that, because I don't believe in prayer, I believe in manifestation. You manifest what you want, you visualize, you're thinking, you literally feel it, and it'll happen. But that's me. Yeah, feel it, and you have to really. It's work. It's a lot of work. And I think that's how I get up every day with this ailing old body, and I refuse to let anything bring me down. I don't believe in the medical system. I think for emergencies it's important, but I believe that, me personally, it's like if you don't let something negative in, you could actually create what you, and that's me.
I also wanted to add, there's that story where Jesus is walking down the street on his way to go heal Jairus's daughter who had, passed away. And this woman comes up to him and she touches the hem of his garment. And he says, "Who touched me?" Because I just felt like this energy come out of me and affected her, and it's like, what is that? Because that's what Jesus said, you two will do greater things than I, so he's like, this isn't just relegated to the Son of God experience. This is relegated to sons and daughters of God who have the power to do things that are beyond what we would even imagine to be rationally even possible on this planet, And I think that there's a lot of times where Christianity, in my upbringing and understanding how the quantum field works and how understanding the realm of the what is it, the field, the unified field is
unified field theory.
That they say you tap into that.
Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Yeah, Joe Dispenza.
Really good.
Just talking about the potentials that we as humans have that is basically kind of been shut down from our ability to understand. And I think that a lot of times when Christians pray in faith, they're tapping into that unified field because that's what seems to be what's at work, because there's principles at work. It's not just
prayers. It's tapping in, it's believing.
Intention.
Yeah, that intention.
What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's all about language. I think it could even, some people are describing the nature of reality as a video game, which is cool. As a, voiceover artist, I can dig that, they're saying that because, it's kind of like, in a video game, you can't really see what's behind you. It doesn't quite exist until you turn around, if you're in like first person, whatever mode, unless you turn around and you actually observe the reality behind you. It's actually just a field of a bunch of possibilities. It's like a wave of possibilities. You have to collapse the wave function, but the only way to do that is to observe it. You know what I mean? So I do believe in all of that. I'm as scientific as anyone else. I love science, actually. It's one of my things that I kind of obsess on, more so space and quantum stuff like this. But yeah, I think we're talking about the same stuff, but how would you have said some of this stuff, thousands of years ago? If you just had my life story and you just describe this person, and let's leave out the technical stuff and surgeries, and you just described it as a layperson. Okay, well, I started out, I was born, what people, thought I was, as a girl, and then was raised. It sounds like mythology, right? And then at this age, this happened, and that age, that happened. And then by the time I was 21, I discovered this substance that was, I was able to take, and it healed me and all this stuff. It's like, I would call that a miracle because of the access, because of the time that I was born in, that I have access to something that would have literally been called a miracle back in the day. You know what I mean? That's not to say that there weren't trans people throughout history, because trans people have always existed in every culture. In most cultures before ours, they were always revered. Even amongst the Native American cultures, so we got to get back to that. And religion is supposed to be a helpful thing, not a stepping stone for people, Yeah,
we were shamans and healers back in the day, and teachers, and looked upon, as great individuals, and I think they fear us. They fear that we're very much in tune with that quantum field, that we're able to tap in, and we are miracles. We were born one way, and here we are, totally different. We are our own creator gods, we created ourselves, literally. It's like, there are times when I look in the mirror, and it's like, who's that staring back at me? And even though it's been, almost 25, 26 years, but it's still like, it marvels me, like, wow, okay. I don't even remember the essence. Yeah. I don't even remember the essence of who I used to be. That is so far gone from my realm,
And that's the thing, when he was detransitioned, it's like they were wanting him to get back to that old person. And I was telling people, I was like, that is impossible.
Yeah.
The person that you see before you is a different person. I don't know what happened spiritually in the dimensional experience of who we are as people, but that person that used to inhabit that body is not the same person anymore. You know, I mean, hormones may have played a part in it, but also there's a spiritual component, I believe, to transitioning. And yeah,
for sure. I mean, I think that that was a really rough time. I do remember that, and I just always wanted to tell those other people, like, well, what's it to you? You shouldn't be intimidated by this man exploring his gender, their gender, whatever you were experiencing at the time. Actually, they had a knee-jerk reaction after my heart attack and pulled me off of my stuff. Actually, it was from something else right before my heart attack. And for years, actually, I was not able to have access, and it really, really sucked. So I was like, just suffering. And I feel like sometimes we do suffer, especially those of us that are kind of in the public eye, like you have been as well. Like when Street Fighter 6 came out, and I got to voice Eternity in that, which is really cool, very controversial character. I can't speak on any pronouns or anything else because I am not allowed to. But there was so much hate. I mean, I waited such a long time. I'm a video game player myself. I waited such a long time for a role like that. And when it happened, everyone actually just really hatefully contacted me and told me that I was like this bad person and not a Christian and all this stuff. So when I got paralyzed, I kept that to myself because I didn't want people, like you've explained, on the far right or the fundamentalist side to say that was like God judging me because I did this video game character and all this. So I kept it to myself so as not to harm the community, as I did with so much of the abuse and the assaults and things that I've been through, because I didn't want to be a distraction. But you know what? Like you said, we have to, put the oxygen mask on ourselves before we can help others. And I've been doing so much advocacy, often for free. And I have to take care of myself and stuff. I have a family of my own at this point, and my body is affected. Like, I'm able to sit here with you because I had to take certain medications that allow me to move. Like, it's real serious, that we keep that stuff to ourselves so as not to hurt the community.
I know, and it's really sad that the community could be so. What's what I want to look like? It's almost like dismissive. I know, it's like the townspeople that want to burn the witches, and so we get it from the Christians, and then we get it from our own community. I mean, I was being attacked from both sides, and it's like, gosh, people realize that I'm a human being, that things that you guys want respect for, but you have no empathy for other people. And it's like, we need to stick together. We need to learn to understand one another and know that we're human. We're going to experience things. We're going to battle with our mental health. And not that we're mentally ill, but we've been through so much that it does cause, issues within our spirit. Because I want to believe that that's what it is. It's not our mind, it's our spirit that's struggling because we've been so hurt by so many people.
I mean, up until the time that Mark and I met, Mark was like not thinking anything about detransitioning at any point. But I had a terrible accident. I had broken my C2, C1, C2, C4, and T7 or something like that. It was a massive rollover accident down a hill.
Oh no!
And
sorry.
And basically, what happened was he became my caregiver. Like you're talking about, your wife taking care of you and taking you to the bathroom, showering you. I mean, I had a brace on, and I was completely paralyzed. I couldn't move my.
I had to bathe her, feed her. I mean, I'm an occupational therapist, so you know,
Yeah, I couldn't move my hands,
Yeah.
my legs for like a couple of weeks or something like that. And slowly things came back. But I mean, so he sees this person who's like recently transitioned. I had only transitioned within like the last year. So, I mean, and I had just gotten a hair transplant. So I was just like, I was a mess. Right. So I'm like not looking, not very feminine at that point, you know? And so what ended up happening was this confusion set in on him because he was getting to hear the phone calls from my children saying, Dad, we want you. We hope you're better. You know, Dad, come home. And, you know, I mean, it was like, Mark was like, wait a minute, what is this? Where am I? Who am I? You know?
Yeah.
And then I asked him and I said, can I see some of your old pictures from your detransition? Oh, I haven't seen those in years. You know, he was with his ex, you know, for 11 years, a genetic woman, you know, and never really dealt with anything like that. So then he starts getting into his mind that he needs to do something different in order to be justified to be with me, so that if in the future we wanted to be presentable to my kids or something, that he would like, so it was just this, people that understand how confusing it gets when certain situations and children are involved and exes are involved, and
then she brought the religion.
The religion's involved.
I was like, I've always like, I was like not into religion at all.
Was like
spiritual,
so much more spiritual,
shamanic.
You know,
I'm a healer.
Saging me, like
I'm a healer. I do healings and stuff like that. Since I was a little kid, I've always been. And then all of a sudden, she brings up this whole Jesus and and then
I mean, tremendous guilt and everything. So here we are, you know, he detransitions a bunch of times because of all this confusion, you know. And I think people just like, they look at him and they go, but you were such a great advocate and now you're against, and how could you be so like against us now? And, you know, instead of just saying, you know, and there were just a few people that didn't say what most of them said. And basically they were like, oh, you know, Mark's confused, you know, Mark's going through things. We're just going to sit back and let him be, you know, and watch. And nobody, you know, some people didn't unfriend him or pass him off and stuff. But yeah,
it's hard. So but I can relate. Yeah, exactly. What you know, because it's like people could be brutal, really brutal.
Yeah, man. I mean, I really hate that you went through that. I know that was rough. You know, when in Hollywood, you know, if you're doing like stuff like BuzzFeed, they told us don't read the comments because people are just so vicious. You know, they can be so vicious, and of course you read them, right? And there's a few good ones in there, so it's like, oh, that one said something nice, but you know, and really, that's I do the acting and stuff because it brings me joy, but it's really for you know, those people too that get something out of it. But yeah, people can just be so mean, and they don't understand that, you know, we are basically like these chemical bags. You know, like I said, I'm moving my arms tonight. This is artificial, as freaky as that sounds. But for my medication, like a lot of times I get my muscles will like constrict like this. Yeah. Like you know, it's pretty much like to me it looks a lot more like people that I've seen with MS than what's typically shown in, you know, how it typically presents for a lupus person, but a patient. But yeah, we just got to get through this stuff. And sometimes, you know, just adding a certain medication or a certain hormone, or if that level is just a little bit off, it can make people, you know, feel awful or great or motivated or, you know, any of these things. And it's really hard. A lot of people wake up and they just breathe, or they just put their clothes on, or they just walk, and they don't have these extra things. And we have so much to handle while living in this country that is, I still believe in this country. I still think it's the best country ever. But, you know, when I was in high school, we had George W. Bush, and he said, no child left behind. Well, it felt like no child left behind unless you're LGBT or you're different or, you know, you don't fit the system. I feel like I was left behind, but I didn't sit on my ass and bitch about it. I was like, well, I'm going to go do whatever I want to do with my life if I'm not acceptable in this society. But I believe that transgender people love this country. This is a country where I was able to have my dreams come true. All of these miracles. I met my wife here. You know, I was able to transition. I at least am able to get on a platform like this and say, hey, I love my family. And let me put that out there. I love my family. I love my family. I love my family. The shit was difficult. It is what it is, but I love my family. But in other countries, you know, you wouldn't even be able to come on here and say some of this stuff. So I still believe in this country. I'm a patriotic American. And I don't believe that most of the people in this country hate us. I think they are being told what to think. And right now they are being told trans people are the new low man on the totem pole. You know, there always has to be that in society, supposedly. You know, we're a bread and circuses society. So there's got to be that entertainment factor, and there's always got to be someone to beat up on. And I think this time around, what I'm hearing, and what I'm hearing this time around is that this community is not down for it. You know, this isn't years and years ago. We when you have rights and then they're taken away, people are not cool with that. That's why so many people are fighting for the Second Amendment, which I do believe in as well. You know what I mean? I believe in all of the laws of this country that are put in place to keep everyone safe. But I do have a hard time when you're creating legislation that has a disparate impact on one group of people, especially because I'm part of that group of people, whether people on the streets can tell or whether we can go in the locker room or not. When you're talking about a trans person, a trans woman, a trans kid, a weird looking queer person or whatever, you're talking about me. The same as a lot of people, they talk to me about women not knowing, hey, I actually, could have been described as a feminist, back in the day.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. I just think kindness, pass it around, like they say.
It's important to re-educate, because people have been misled, they've been lied about us, and it's time for us to take our power back because we've lost it. Somewhere down the road, we were doing really good, and then something happened where they threw a curveball, and now we're like trash, according to people, and we need to like change that dynamic, change that narrative altogether. And we do it by being ourselves, by showing people who we are. We need all the allies that we can, all the people that are out there that realize that it's injustice what is about to happen.
I mean, I was recently on a phone call with a loved one, and it was so encouraging and so like incredibly uplifting to hear what she's told me. She said, I was like told, who to vote for, and people were saying, you need to vote for Trump or whatever. And she's like, I am not going to vote for someone who's going to hurt someone I love. I can't. I just can't do it. So I think it's important for people to understand that allies will come to our side if they're given the truth about who we are, and they don't have to hear the narrative of like what others want to paint as our truth, that we can let people know that, we exist. We're just walking around, in our case, we're doing some grocery deliveries for people every now and then. And we go to the gym, and, we talk to people and we help people. Like if someone falls at the grocery store, Mark's like the first one to get out there and help that person up to make sure that they're okay, because he has like that caregiver instinct. So absolutely, it's like people need to recognize that trans people, we care. We're human. We're not monsters.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why during the pandemic, I ran towards it. Now I am terrified of that because, like, I can't believe what I did. My wife was swabbing noses for the school kids so that they could go to school. Doing those deep, awful COVID things. But I was working sniffs and hospitals, and I was literally, I mean, it was all hands on deck. And I was just like relief, like per diem. but I was working often, and you know, people didn't know I was trans or anything else. I was literally wiping ass, and I am not that kind of guy. But I was like, hey, the country, the world is messed up right now. There's something that I can do, you know, to help. So I ran towards it, and you know, now I'm sicker than a lot of the patients that I cared for. Like I said, I found out that I was this gravely ill because my elderly client asked me to open a bag of potato chips for her, and I didn't have the dexterity or strength to do it. Like, that's how affected, you know, I am. But people need to hear from, you know, veterans like you know, and people like me, where it's like, I'm a Christian guy, so where's your argument there? I can probably quote the Bible a little bit better than you can, because I've read most of it. I haven't done cover to cover, but I've done a few Bible studies where we've gone the whole span of the Bible, and I have found scripture in there that is my salvation. Now, if other people have their own opinion, I'm talking about more so on the right wing side of things, then that's fine. They can find their salvation or their peace or whatever in whatever way they need to. However, at least if you're into the New Testament, there is nowhere in there where Jesus says that you beat up the oppressed and you beat the shit out of the immigrants and vilify everyone, and you know, everything. Like, it's just, that's not they're being told to believe something because they haven't even read the shit themselves to know what's actually in it. And if you don't read it yourself, or you don't do the research, or you don't look into, well, what actually is a trans person, what am I actually even mad at, then you're going to be told. And that's true for anything in society. Yeah, you're going to be told, and you're going to believe what you're told. You know what I'm saying?
So
we got
I want to
to
respect your time. I want to respect your time. I mean, it's been an hour and a half, and I know that, you know, it took a lot for you yeah, you know, and I really, so what I do want to have you tell people about your website, and let me see here.
Oh yeah, I'm looking real intense right there. Like that.
You are.
Yeah. So my website, you know, I'm putting out there more and more that I'm a lupus warrior because I am affected. We thought maybe we could kind of, you know, keep it to ourselves, but I got to put it out there. And I'm also a performer with disabilities. There are a lot of us out there. Hire people with disabilities because we rock. A lot of my friends rock. Yeah, it's just some of the stuff. You can go on my website. You can see some pictures. Check out character VOs for Crisis. This is for voiceover artists. Like I said, you know, the wildfires that have affected Los Angeles have affected my community really, really specifically. So while we're not raising money, we're not set up to do that. We are an inbound phone line, and we're looking for partners that want to work with us on that. Let's keep checking back often. Check out my socials as well. I've just been doing the advocacy while doing the art thing, and I am teaching an acting class, and there's some people that already signed up that have been participating, and we're going to be doing more going forward. So be on the lookout for that.
That's awesome. You know, you're really inspiring, and I love your attitude and your determination. You know, and it's really nice to have had you share your life story, and you've helped me by saying, you know, things that you've said, that you've watched me for a long time, and that you saw my detransition, but you still, you know, you had grace enough to continue to see me as the person that you know that I am. So I appreciate that greatly. Yes, definitely. So any final words, any other things, any other final words that you have that you'd like to share with the viewers regarding the future?
Just, you guys, we're gonna get through it. Everyone out there doesn't hate trans people. You know, there are a lot of people that love us. I own property, you know, in some of these places where they say everyone hates us. I've been there. It's fine. You know, people hate an idea more than they hate the person. So let's start changing people's ideas about us. We need to keep having trans representation in media. I still haven't gotten one line on network television, guys. It's been like 18 years in the industry. I'm not being ungrateful, but I'm letting you know I'm available. I am a talking head. I don't care. Put me out there. And just, we have to support each other, and we have to stay strong. And we are a part of this country. We are Americans, and we deserve to participate in everything that makes this country great.
Definitely. We pay taxes, you know, like everybody else, and you know, we contribute like everybody else. So we vote,
Absolutely.
and so yeah.
Mhm.
So thank you so much, my
Yeah.
friend. We appreciate.
Yes.
Say hello to your wife for us, and
Thank you.
thank you so much for being here.
Yes.
Thank you guys for
Thank you for having me.
watching. This will yes, it will be on demand, so you guys could watch it if you didn't get to watch it live. We thank you. We love you guys. But remember to always love yourselves too. Good night. Thank you all.